Welcome back. So this is the fourth segment of using the Metasploitable framework, and this is just a quick demonstration of how to get to the Metaterpreter payload. So let's get to it. So I have the Metasploitable virtual machine running. You can see I'm at 192.168.70, 129 in non-routable IP space. I have this running on my host through VMware and also my Kali Linux version 2021.3. Due to legal issues, of course, federal, national, international, we're keeping this in non-routable IP space. Kind of show how to exploit the Metasploitable virtual machine to get the Metaterpreter payload. So we're going to open up our Metasploitable framework with MSF console. As soon as that comes up, we already know what this exploit is. We've searched through it through our vulnerability scanning. We see this exploit's here. So I'm just going to go ahead and load it and demonstrate it. So the exploit we're going to use is multi HTTP, because this is a PHP vulnerability. CGI arg inject. And you can see that it said there was no payload configured. It's defaulting to PHP Metaterpreter reverse TCP. So this already gives us an indication that the Metaterpreter payload is available. Now we do have an addressable target, so we're going to go ahead and change this to a bind shell instead of a reverse shell, but this would work if we didn't change it. So normally we show the payloads that are available. They're all listed here, and we're just going to pick that Metaterpreter bind shell number 11 right there. And what's kind of neat we could also do is when we set that payload, we could just say, hey, set payload number 11. And that's what it did. So we could have cut and pasted the words, but we have that payload there. So let's show the options. And we can see for the module, we have the target, the most hosts that needs to be put in there. Port 80 makes sense, right? Because we're doing PHP vulnerability through HTTP. And when we do the bind shell, that's going to do that Metaterpreter, it's going to stage it and give us that Metaterpreter prompt. It's going to do the bind shell at port 4444. So that's okay. We just need to set our host for the module. So at our host to 192.168. For me, it's 70.129. And flipping back, that was the IP address of my Metasploitable virtual machine running in VMware on the same VMware instance as my Kali virtual machine. So I'll set that, show options again, just to verify everything is true. In a real penetration test, this is very critical. You don't want to go off target. It could easily break the law by doing that. So I'm double checking my IP address. Everything else looks okay. I'll leave that as the address for the bind shell. And we'll just go ahead and exploit. And notice what happened, and it was really quick, is it started the bind shell handler, sending the stage. Metaterpreter session number 1 is now opened, and I have the Metaterpreter prompt. This is proof that it works. And if I don't really know what to do with this, there are some nice I think SANS has a nice cheat sheet that's published online. You can look up on Metasploit Unleashed through offensive security. There's some tools and resources of how do I use Metaterpreter. And I always love just the old help command's good. And it gives me some of the different commands that I can use, but these all won't be available. They might not all be listed depending on what was exploited. This was a PHP vulnerability. So for example, if I want to see the processes on the machine right now, that's not going to work, right? Because it doesn't have that permissions. If I want the UID of the session, that worked. So some of these commands will work, some don't, depending on what vulnerability was exploited and what permissions that service had. So that's just a quick demonstration of how do I get to the Metaterpreter prompt. If I want to see how to use it, I could look up some of those resources. And again, just use the help command and start trial and error of what commands I can get. Maybe migrate to a different service that might give me some more capabilities. All right, thank you.